Welcome back to What Do You Know About a Mortgage, where we have a podcast based on just celebrating the life of all cool people in different walks and different industries, people who I think are cool in the industry. And then we, tie in mortgage questions and kind of play the role of educating the client, which is you to tune in, and then also letting you know dope people in their space and letting you know more about them. Today we have a great special guest, but of course, let me introduce my co-host first, Frankie the Flamingo. Give it up for Frankie. What up, Frankie? Hey, mama. All right, so today we have a very special guest, my boy Dee Spuriel. I've been knowing probably about, going on about 30 years now. Knew this guy from the Sandbox, really good guy, doing a lot of big things in this world. So I want to give a warm welcome, a special round of applause for our guy, Dee Spuriel, CEO of Blueprint Sound. Hey! What's up, bro?
How you doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to the show. And how you doing today, man?
I'm good. I appreciate the love. Thank you for the intro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, who you are. Give your own little kind of intro for yourself, and we'll go from there.
Okay. How much time we got?
Not that much time for you to start doing all that wild stuff you want to do.
Okay. I'm originally from Steubenville, Ohio. It's a small town, probably around 20,000 people.
Whoa.
Moved to Vegas around 2003. I've been here ever since. I started in the nightclub business as a promoter, and then I became like a nightclub executive. And then for the last 6 years, I've been running my own business. It's called Blueprint Sound. It's a DJ company, entertainment company. We book, DJs for anything you need. Weddings, nightclubs, pools, lounges, restaurants. We've done some stuff at the Super Bowl. We've done a lot of big events.
Hold on. Don't give them too much. We're going to jump all into that. Right. We're going to serve that up on a plate for them. So, coming from Steubenville to a large city like Las Vegas, for those who have jumped out there in the world and moved from their hometown to any big city, it could be struggle. It could be change. Change is a lot for a lot of people. That's why it takes a special caliber of person to kind of go out there to succeed. What made you choose to take that step and leave, Steubenville, which is my hometown as well, of about 25,000 to, a metropolis like Las Vegas?
Well, for me, it was about growth. I heard this quote somewhere that said, the comfort place is a great place, but nothing grows there. And when you live in your hometown and you stay in your hometown, there's only so much growth you're going to get. So for me, I didn't want to be the ex-athlete at a high school football game talking about how great I was and things like that. So,
you want to be on the corner talking about you scored 5 touchdowns with Al Bundy?
No, not at all. I mean, I do when I go home. I tell them that.
Polk High and Steubenville, Big Red, it's all the same.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. So, corny as this sounds, is I saw the Real World Las Vegas on TV. And at the time when I was in college, I went to Kent State. I graduated from Kent State. Shout out to the Golden Flashes. I threw parties in college, and I saw the Real World Las Vegas on TV, and I was like, I think I can do that. And I was like, I think I can do it just for the simple fact that I'm not a huge party. I don't really drink. I don't smoke. I don't do any of that. So I was like, in Vegas, at least I'm gonna keep my head on straight. So that should give me a little bit of leverage over, some other people, because the whole show was about partying, but I saw it for the opportunities for the nightlife and the entertainment and things like that. So I was a teacher at the time. I was a wrestling and football high school coach. And then I was like, I'm gonna go to Vegas. I'm gonna give it a year, and then we'll see what happens.
So what was your major in college? Like, what did you end up majoring in?
So I had a major in criminal justice. I wanted to be a U.S. Marshal. I saw way too many movies, so I thought I was going to be.
Hey,
Bruce
coming
Willis.
from where we from, that's kind of funny. Being from the hood, and then I never knew that for real.
I thought
you was 5'0" this whole time, bro.
No. I thought I was going to be Bruce Willis. Seriously, I thought I was going to be chasing down El Chapo and stuff like that. But once I found out like what criminal justice was really in the context of what I would be doing, I was like, nah, I can't do this. But I had a minor in marketing as well. So I had always kind of had that on the back burner, but it was something that, to be honest, I wasn't really confident about. I knew I could graduate and do okay in the criminal justice world, no matter what vertical I ended up in. But I wasn't so sure about the marketing thing, because it's not where we come from. There's not really huge entertainment. There's not like the most famous person from our hometown is probably Dean Martin, and that was 100 years ago.
Mambo Italiano, Mambo Italiano. And they have a Dean Martin Fest every year. It's actually pretty dope, man. Shout out to the Ville. Shout out to Spot Bar Jojo, D'Albert, and all the fellas out there. So what gave you the confidence to throw parties and know that, or feel like the entertainment industry was for you? I don't want to put my bias on it. I know how you get down at the parties, and for the people that don't know, from the Ohio Valley region, man, this man is a legend, man. The party thing is just what you do. And the funny thing, like you said, you don't drink or smoke. You were the perfect host when we were 16, 17, 18, without even knowing that you had those skills. So how did that lend towards, or translate to Vegas and things like that?
Well, because of you guys is one of the reasons I didn't drink. After seeing the way you guys act, I was like, okay.
Hey, don't talk about the time I did X, Y, and Z and did X, Y, and Z with ZY and X.
That's not my lane. So, but I had started throwing parties when I was like 15 in my mom's basement, and then it went to the garage and things like that. And it was more for me about like bringing people together. Like I was really good at that. I was really good at like, without even knowing, I was networking. Like networking wasn't a huge thing 30 years ago.
Right.
But for me, it was just like a natural thing where I was like, I was one of the guys that always stayed in contact with all their people from high school and stuff. So like when I tell people like, oh, my friends from high school are coming, they're like, you still talk to your friends from high school? I'm like, yes, I stay in contact with everybody. And being an athlete, I would go to, tournaments and all-star events and so on and so forth. So I would stay in contact with all the players from the other schools. So whenever I threw a party, it wasn't just my high school. It was the 6 to 8, 10 surrounding high schools. Right. So I knew I was okay at it. I was like, I think I can do this. But at the time in Ohio, it wasn't a career per se. Right. Like now there's like promoters and marketers and this and that and and host and VIP, executive this.
The subcategories almost of it.
Back then it was like, it wasn't like that. So
you were everything. You did it all. Yeah.
So from booking the DJs to getting the liquor, the marketing the party, so on and so forth, it was kind of like a natural thing for me to do. And then I thought like maybe I could take what I learned in Ohio in my garage and just put it in the nightclub.
It's funny to say in my garage.
Literally, I was like, maybe I could, because for me it was about putting the right people in the right environment to create the right party.
So let's hold up right there. Let me ask you a question. For those like guys that are struggling or thinking about, or they're at a VIP host or they're promoters, let's be honest, the girls are the main attraction to any nightclub, any social setting.
Of course.
How did you know how to not only craft the right women or get enough women to come, but for them to be comfortable to bring their girls and their girls, because that's a special talent. When you hear Puffy, when you hear Jamie Foxx about their parties, it's always because of the women that the other women invite that makes their party substantial. Who cares if, Jay-Z and them are at your party if they're going to be there for 2 seconds because ain't no girls there or whoever's there. But it was because of the women that always outset that. How did you figure how to crack that code?
Well, I knew that, like, you want to have the right people, right? So, like, having a party is about having the right people in the space. So you could have 2,000 people and it could still be a lame party. And you can have a party with 30 people, and if it's the right people, it could be a crazy party. Yeah. So that was always my thing. And my thing was, okay, everybody likes beautiful women. So how do I create an environment that women are comfortable? So I always try to make sure it was fun, it was safe. They didn't have to pay for anything.
Of course.
So I just made it really advantageous for women to come to the party. And once women do anything like music, so on and so forth, guys are going to follow. I remember I was in a car with a group of girls when I was in high school, and one of the girls was like, hey, could you put Nelly on? And I was like, oh, I don't have it. And she was like, oh. So I was like, oh.
Made you feel some type of way.
That's never going to happen again.
Do you want to get around me?
Yeah.
You start memorizing everything.
All day. Country grammar, all of that.
Shout out to Nelly, though. Shout out to the boy.
I made it a point to always be like, okay, like, this needs to be geared for fun, obviously, but also, like, the women are going to drive the event. For sure.
Being that you were an athlete at a top level in wrestling and football, and knowing that, most career choices that we make, especially in small cities, are built on, can we go to college? Can we, because it's hard for our families, for most people's families to afford that from the inner city, us being no different. How did you transition to say, I guess my question really is, was there anything that transitioned? That's the better way to ask it. Was there anything that transitioned from sports, the mindset to development, discipline, things like that, to what you currently were doing as promoting parties and entertainment, things of that nature?
Almost all of it. All of it is the same principles. So it's about the camaraderie. So you want to have the right people working with you and working for you. You want to create that environment where everybody wants to have fun. And like when you're an athlete, like typically athletes are the life of the party. They're the people that kind of know everything that's going on. So I just took a lot of those principles that I learned. And also being from a small town, like you know these people and you know their families and so on and so. So you have a little bit of a deeper connection, which is the opposite is when I moved out west, I didn't know anybody. So before I moved out here, I made sure that all my relationships were strong. Like I said, I stayed in contact with people, and I just used the sports mentality of like trying to be the best and going the extra mile and working hard and so on and so on and so forth. And I put all that energy into pretty much everything I did, whether that was going to school, whether I was playing sports, whatever it was, I kind of used those principles.
It sounds like your foundation is rooted in a lot of building with people. Relationship is one of your biggest assets. Would you say so?
100%. Like, think about it. Like, you were at my wedding, right? So all of my groomsmen, and I had one groomswoman, were people I knew 30 plus years. And my friend Nicole, I've known her for 15 plus years. So these are people I've been friends with my whole life. There was nobody there under 20, 20 years. So
yeah. Speaking of that, how was your upbringing? How did you what groomed you to be the man that you kind of are today? You're a very interesting person to everyone who meets you. Some say you're a little shrewd because they see the business side of you. Some say you're a gangster because they feel the coldness of your heart when they get in the wrong areas of your way. And some would say you're the most lovable, likable person they ever met because you're able to show that humility, that humbleness, and that joking side to yourself. Yeah. What came about that brought all those things together?
So my mom and dad are both very funny characters, and my mom is like really the kind of like the cheerleader type, like you could do anything, you could be whatever you want to be, that kind of thing. And my dad was more of like the realistic, like if you want to be something, you're gonna have to make these moves, you're gonna have to do things. And he taught me how to be a man, taught me how to be tough, and taught me, when you grow up in the 80s and 90s, totally different than it is today. Like 80s and 90s were all about how tough you are, how cool you were, did you have the newest shoes, did you have the flyest car, that kind of stuff. So everything was a competition growing up. So you just learn naturally and then when you're an athlete too, so everything is competition. Like nobody wants to hear about what didn't happen or how you got it. It's just a matter of do you have it? Did you get it? Did you win? Yeah. So that was where I come from. And then also like I grew up around a lot of Italians too, so I took a lot of their traits as far as like business and like learning how to cook and like the whole family oriented thing. Because my family, like my inner family, like my immediate family is really tight, but my outside family, everybody's kind of spread out.
Mine's is the same, bro.
So when you see the Italian people where it's generation after generation after generation.
Oh, they're 30, 40, 50 deep at the table.
Yeah, so I always gravitated towards that. So you take a little bit of stuff from the Italians, from my family, and where I come from Steubenville. I learned a lot just from the city, the way the city is. It's about being hardworking. It's about being blue collar. It's about winning. Everything is about winning. It's about how hard can you go.
That's true.
And you're going to get pushed to the limit. Like the high school that we went to, Steubenville Big Red, is one of the top 15. I think we're top 15 in wins in high school football. Yes, so coming from a program like that, it was an easy transition to me once I moved into the corporate world because it was kind of the same structure. It's like Alabama or the Patriots. It's like Big Red had a system, and like either you fit in the system or you didn't.
And it's the same system that's in place today that was in place when we played, and even 10 years before. So how funny is it that that system has not faltered or anything since this point? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's. I was just home last week, and I went to catch one of the games, and it's the same. It's the same thing. It's like no doubt. It's amazing that Coach Sack can be a coach for 40 years or however long he's been coaching something crazy, and to have that success the whole
way through. He's a Hall of Famer.
Right. Like I told somebody, I was like, oh yeah, one of our teams didn't do too good. They finished 8-2, and they were like, what? I'm like, 8-2.
Yeah, that's a bad year for us. 8-2
is not good. So that's kind of where I got my upbringing from.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Pivoting real quick to a segment like we like to call Bet on Yourself. Okay, so this segment right here is where we actually take a second to ask you, when was a pivoting moment for yourself to where, situations could have been mundane, where it's the same old grind. For an example, I just finished college. I got this degree. I can go work in the system doing X, Y, and Z. Get the fence with the wife and the yard and the dog and the kids, and that's cool. Or I can maybe gamble and bet on myself, on what I believe is truly in my heart, what I have a conviction for. If I fail, I don't have a backup plan for this. I may have the scramble, blah, blah, blah. Or if I succeed, this could really launch me into a stratosphere unknown, and I could really, truly be happy with who I am as that person. When was that moment for you when you bet on yourself?
Actually, I had two of those moments, and I'll speak to them both very quickly. So the first one was, if you would have asked me 30 years ago what I would have done, I would have been like, I would have been a U.S. Marshal, or I would have been a teacher in a high school and football coach or something like that. So that's where I saw myself at that time. And then once I got to college and I started meeting other people and started seeing other experiences, the other things that were out there, I was like, well, maybe I'm not sure if I want to do this anymore. So the first step was moving from my hometown, is like getting out of Ohio and then moving to Vegas, because that was a step in itself. And it wasn't like this super long range plan, because I'm like a crazy planner, but that was just like, I'm not sure where I want to go, but I know I want to see more of the world. I don't want to look back and be like, oh, I never went anywhere, I never did anything, I stayed in my hometown, so whatever. So I decided to move to Vegas. I was like, I'll give it a year, and then we'll see what happens. So that was the first part, just getting to Vegas and getting out of city. If you grow up in a big city, it's not that big a deal.
Right.
But if you grow up in a small city, everybody kind of, it's like groupthink. Everybody kind of has the same mentality. And when you look up and you don't see people from all walks of life going on to be football stars or going to be actors or singers or dancers,
it's hard to see.
It's hard to see something like that. So then the second part was, years later, I was probably in my mid-30s, 35, 34-ish, and I decided to start my own business. And I was at a company that was going very well. I was very well paid, but I wasn't happy. You know, it was cool. I could have done it. Like I was all right. It wasn't that I was miserable or anything. But what I valued more than anything was time and freedom. And I didn't realize that until I got
Say that again for the people that really don't understand what it's like to make, 200, 300,000 and then realize like there's no freedom in that with the time and money. But seriously, that is a compromise, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's the only commodity that you can't get back, right? So people are real tight with their money and real loose with their time. And I learned to do the opposite. Money is one thing. You can get money back, but you can't get time back. So I remember going into the office of the owner of the company, and I was like, hey, I want to go see this concert. And he was like, nah, you can't do that because we got this going on, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm 30 some odd years old and I got to ask somebody if I can Another man telling you can't go.
I was like, you know what? And so then the following Monday, that was like it was a holiday weekend. So like that following Monday, I put my 2 weeks in. Because the freedom was more important to me, just to be able to do what I want to do. And at that time I had grown to like have way more aspirations and goals and things like that. So I felt like being in that situation would have stunted what I was trying to do. And sometimes, like you said, you got to bet on yourself. You got to take risk, and it was a risk.
Was ownership also maybe on the table as in the back of your mind, maybe as part of the reason?
100%.
Okay.
So it's like at some point you're in your 30s and you're thinking, okay, I'm in this company. I'm a executive or director, or this, that, whatever, and you're like, okay, what do I want to do eventually? Like, do I want to be the CEO of this company? Do I want to be the owner? Do I want to be a manager? And then I started looking at myself. I was like, well, I don't see myself doing this 10 years from now. Like, I need to have my own thing. And listen, at the end of the day, it's somebody else's business. So I think one of the problems that like I run into with like some of the kids that I talk to and I mentor and things like that is I'm like, if you're going to work for somebody else, you have to do what they say when they say. Right. And if you want to go on yourself, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, but now you're responsible. Everything is on you. So in my business, I'm the last stop. So financially, marketing, employment, everything stops with me. So it's you got to be a special type of person to do that. Not everybody is built for entrepreneurship.
No,
some people are like, oh, you should go start your own business because they know how to make cookies. It's like, yeah, you know how to make cookies, but do you know how to sell cookies?
Can you balance a spreadsheet?
And that's a whole thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, that running a business isn't really about whatever you're doing. Right. It's about the business. So it's great you can sing, but you're not going to be spending your time singing. So
Very good, man. And let's clap for that. Let's clap for that because that has led us to where Blueprint Sound is. Check out Blueprint Sound online if y'all can, man. IG, Facebook, wherever else you're at. We'll plug that even a little bit more. But Blueprint Sound, he has 40 to 50 DJs now. Talk about real quick, because I wanted to jump in the space of entertainment for those who don't know what that life is like. But real quick, I want to plug this since we're on Blueprint Sound. Talk about starting the actual business and then getting booked for like the Super Bowl and those type of things. Talk about those highs and lows for us real quick.
It's actually a funny story. So my business partner, DJ Direct, who's one of the music directors over at Dre's, came to me, and I've known him for, I don't know, 15 years or something.
Yeah.
And he came to me and was like, hey, I got this great idea. And he's like, I'm super like chill. I don't really get excited that much. And he's super energetic and like, oh, I got this idea. I want to start a DJ company, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, there's a million DJ companies. I'm like, why do we want to start a DJ company? He's like, well, yo, we can book DJs, we can make money in this, that, and third. And I was like, I just don't see it. And he's like, no. I'm like, man, just leave me alone, right? Just stop. So then later on that day, I was just sitting around and I was just like, I do know a lot of DJs. I do know a lot of people that book DJs. I do know a lot of places we can book the DJs at.
It started to come together a little bit, huh?
So then by the morning, I had the name, I had the business plan, the whole thing. So I call him and I'm like, hey, I wanna meet up with you. He's like, is it about Blueprint? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yes. So and then for probably the next 9 months, me and him, we met every single day and just laid out the plan.
How long did y'all meet?
Every single day for about 9 months.
Y'all hear that? It take that time, man. Don't skip steps.
Right. So we started the company technically like in February, but we didn't even launch until September or something like that. And that was after about 2 months of in the incubation period where we're just kind of like pre-production or whatever, like before that. So it took a while just to get it all together. And then in the beta phase, you're just trying out things, making sure things are working because you don't want to just run out there and start doing stuff.
Right.
And luckily for me, I was lucky to have a couple friends that kind of let me try out what I was doing. It's like, hey, you can book a couple of DJs, and then I got to see exactly how it
back to your
worked.
Relationship building,
right? And I had booked DJs, like I said, since I was 15, but doing them as a real business and the legal side and things like that.
Because now you're putting other people's jobs on the line because they're betting on you.
Right.
They're betting that they're giving you a chance, but they're betting their career in their place of position on you doing what you say you can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once we launched the company, like the first launch party, I was like, okay, definitely we have something here. And let me rewind just a little bit. So when he was talking about the company, the reason why I didn't want to do it is because I always feel like there needs to be a niche whenever you're doing a business. And I would always tell the kids that work for me, they'd be like, well, we can't start a company because somebody else already does that. I'm like, okay, think of it this way. I'm like, there was McDonald's, then there was Burger King, then there was Wendy's, then there was Five Guys, then there's Smash Burger, this burger, House Burger, Bugs Burger. So it's not like they stopped making burgers. You just have to find your niche.
Your niche, yeah.
And his niche was, he didn't really articulate it that well to me, or I didn't receive it as well, was he's like, I want to start a corporate company of DJs. He's like, I want to make it corporate where we're booking DJs for private events and corporate events. And then I saw the niche. So when I went home and I thought about it, I was like, that's the lane, because I was already in marketing. I was already in promotions. I already knew a bunch of salespeople. I was already doing events. So I was like, oh, okay, now I see what he's talking about. Because to start another company, like I said, there was a million of them. So it didn't really hit me. But once I found the niche, then I was like, oh, okay, that's what we should.
And for those who don't know, Dee was previously with the Light Group and SBE, which is Semi Boy Entertainment, as the director of promotion. So, and we're going to jump into that because I don't want people to miss. So he worked his way from being a promoter, literally on the strip, which if you've ever been to Las Vegas, guys will come up in suits, invite you to the club, give girls in, blah, 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 get you tables and so on and so forth, to the director of all the company's promotion, marketing, and so on and so forth. So he was able to use certain lanes, is what he's saying, from those relationships that you've built with other companies, and you have the in-house resources to actually plug DJs in. So it really did make sense. But you still had to do the hard work, the footing and all those different things. And now talk about, because I don't want to get off this, your winning moments, like the Super Bowl, like ad commercials, things like that. How did that feel? How did you end up getting your people booked, and what's that like?
To be honest with you, the first thing I said to my partner when we started, I was like, in 5 years, I want to be having our DJs at the Super Bowl. And that happened.
You spoke it into existence.
Yeah, but that happened in the first year. So like
Crazy.
that was a huge.
Was that year one?
That was year one.
Wow.
That was year one. That was really big for us because it was like this far way out goal that we wanted to do, and that kind of let us know like, okay, we're on the right path.
Right.
So I was like, so that was one of the first goals that we had was to get to the Super Bowl and get to events like that, and then and we booked all over the country.
That's crazy.
And definitely internationally.
Give it up for year one, man. Super Bowl in the first year.
Yeah.
Year one, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So if you could speak about how you became from promotion to give that background
For sure.
to tie it all in. When you came to Vegas, what was one of your first places you worked or positions and things like that, man?
Okay, so when I first moved to Vegas, I was literally the guy who handed out flyers on the strip. So everybody starts somewhere. Because you'll hear somebody be like, oh, he was a busser.
Started from the bottom, now you're here.
Oh, he was a busser, and she was this, she was that. Like, everybody starts somewhere.
Right.
I started out literally handing out flyers on the street corner.
Right.
And I ran into a guy, and he was like, oh, I know this place that's looking for promoters. You should reach out to them. I was like, okay. So I emailed the club like 3 or 4 times. And then finally the guy gets back to me, and then we played phone tag. He's like, oh, meet me this day, meet me that day. So finally I go down there, and he goes, okay, tell me about yourself. And I'm like, oh, I used to throw parties in high school. I used to throw parties in college. I used to do these big kegers and blah, blah, blah. I had a night at one of my friend's bar, this place called the Water Street Tavern. It was, blah, blah, blah. I was going on and on and on. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. He's like, where was this? And I'm like, Ohio. He's like, Ohio? And I'm like,
They always try to front on us like we cow tip or something, man.
and I'm like, yeah. He was like, all right, man. He was like, look, here's some passes. Bring some people to the club. If you do, cool. If you don't come back. And I was like, all right, okay. So there was no real like training at that time. So I went out with a guy for one day, and he kind of taught me like how to talk to people about buying bottles and things like that. But the promotion side, I kind of figured that on my own because I was I had already kind of done it, but it wasn't like at this time there wasn't a handbook,
right?
Which I ended up writing down the road.
That you end up writing the handbook. How funny is that? How hard was it for you not being like a super extrovert, social butterfly type of guy to approach random strangers and get them to a club?
See, that's the misconception about me, right? It's like I'm not outgoing. Like I just don't enjoy like being a social butterfly as much as some other people do. But if you put me in the right environment, like I'll talk to you till we're blue in the face. Because you can't be a promoter if you can't.
No, that's what I'm saying. Because I know you, and I'm like,
people are like, oh,
students so fall back and chill. Right. How is he? Okay.
Yeah. So if the environment is right, or if there's a need, like I needed to do this. So I went out the first day by myself. I put flyers probably on. This is back when you put flyers on cars and things like that. I probably put like 2,000 flyers on people's
cars. Hey, the millennials watch this are like, you didn't
like,
go online? What do you mean you put a flyer on somebody's car?
This is pre-MySpace, pre-Facebook, pre-all of that. So I put like 2,000 flyers on cars. I go back, and I'm in the meeting, and I'm like, and they're like, okay, so they're calling out everybody's numbers. So they call out mine, they're like, okay, you brought in one person. And I'm like, now mind you, this is in a room of people who were brought in, like 30 people, 100 people, whatever. It was so bad, the dude paid me out of his pocket. He gave me $5 out of his pocket.
They ain't even cut a check. Because it would have been too expensive to cut the check.
Yeah. I was like,
hey, wow. Hey man, take this $2, man. Take this $5.
And there was a guy there. There was a guy there named Kevin, and Kevin Lear. He passed away. Rest in peace of Kevin. But I was like, how do I do this? And he was like, that's not the kind of information that we share with people. He's like, but I like you, so I'm going to give you one tip. And I was like, okay, what is it? And he goes, Thunder Down Under. And I said, Thunder Down? I was like, Thunder Down Under. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to try to be in a mail review to bring people back to the club.
Coming to the stage, Chocolate Thunder.
So I'm like, nah. But then he was like, no. He was like, where are you going to find 100 girls at all in one go? And then that changed my trajectory. So I went before every show, I went after every show, and I just promoted there. And then again, like, because the people end up liking me, or I built relationship with people, then I started having the security and the bouncers like, oh, if you want to go out, talk to this guy, talk to that guy. And then the guy who actually hired me gave me a tip. He's like, you need to get people working for you. And I said, I don't have money to like hire people to work for me. He was like, well, then you need to get them to work for you some other way. And I was like, oh. So what I started doing is I started going to all the malls and all the little maitre d's at the restaurants, and I became friends with all of them. And I would say, hey, if you send me people to the club, I'll get you into the club for free, or get your friends into the club for free.
Right.
So then all these little malls, there used to be like, in Mandalay Place, there was like a little shop there, and like girls would shop there and things like that. There was all these little places. So I end up locking all these people down and end up making them work for me. So it got to a point where I was just like, give them my number. You don't have to promote it. You don't have to tell them nothing. Just give my number. Just give my number. Just give my number. And then I created this network of people who were like in the marketing where we kind of call them feeders.
Okay.
Like,
refer.
Yeah, referrals. Yeah. So people would just send me stuff, and then eventually all these people I would take care of too. And then as I rose in the business, they had somebody else that was rising in the business. So it all worked out. And that was that was the secret sauce, was finding people to feed you business without it costing me anything. And then what I would do is I would go to a bar, I would sit down, I would talk to people, and then I would overtip. I would overtip every time, because the way I looked at it is either people remember the people that don't tip, and they remember the people that overtip.
Especially in Vegas.
Right.
This is a tip town.
I probably became in some people's head like, oh, that's the guy that drops $20 every time you come, because I don't drink. So I'm buying cranberry juices and it's tipping $20. So then they be, hey, what's your story? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then the more I did that, I just created a network. And then the last part of like my success, or whatever you want to call it, was birthday parties. So what I learned is people will never forget if you throw them a birthday party. So like in Vegas, all these little maitre d's at all the restaurants, they were 19, they were 20, they were just turning 21 or going to turn 21. So I threw all these girls their birthday parties, their first Vegas birthday party. So then every friend that they had, so every friend they had would want to like, oh, hit up my boy D, he'll hook you up with the birthday party. So that was kind of like,
that was genius.
That was kind of like the 3-prong attack of what it was.
And everybody wants to be associated with a winner. They want to be associated with the people that are on the come up and that treat people right. It's funny how, like you said, a $20 tip goes a long way, especially when you're in Vegas on the tip town. So, real quick, just wanted to highlight you real quick. For those who don't know, not only is he doing the Blueprint sound thing and all that cool stuff, he used to manage 40, 50 people, and has the young homies now off into their own realms. Brad Ho, one of them, shout out to the GOAT. Vicious, my man, Chris Vicious, so many. What is your proudest moment, other than starting your own business and now being very successful at your DJ company? What's your proudest moment as far as just grooming the younger generation to be better off?
Well, I think it's the staple of you, right? So it's like, you could talk about how good you are, you could talk about how successful you've been or whatever, but when you can point to people that came up under you and they've all been successful, that kind of says it for itself.
The real ones have the other people say it for them.
Right.
You don't have to say it.
So like if you're a coach and then you're an NFL coach, for instance, and you have 10 coaches in the NFL from your tree, it kind of already tells everybody how good you are at what you're doing. And I always like to see other people succeed and share the game, because somebody did it for me. Like somebody shared the game to me, and if I didn't learn that, who knows where I would be. Like I learned how to work hard and my morals and all that kind of stuff in Ohio, but I didn't learn the game. And what I mean by game, like business, marketing, all that kind of stuff, until I got to the West Coast. Like West Coast is where I learned the game.
That's definitely facts right there. And shout out to my man Bill Wallace, because he's definitely one of the youngins that took it and is growing. He's going to be on the show later to give an aspect of what it's like to be an independent host in Las Vegas in a couple episodes later. Real quick, we're going to jump into sports real quick, because this is the start of NFL this week. This is going to air a little bit after that. But who you like this year to win it all, man? The Buccaneers are coming back fully loaded with a year to learn offense and learn the defense together. They play the Cowboys this week. Every year, damn Cowboy fans. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Y'all haven't won since VHS tapes were around, man. I got to watch a VHS tape of 1993 to see y'all win, man. Chill out a little bit, Cowboy fans. You got to relax. Jeez. What do you like? Hey, Steeler Nation, baby. We get tired of hearing that Cowboy stuff. But shout out to all my Cowboy fans. Who you like this year? My
team is the Miami Dolphins, but I don't think we're ready to take that step yet.
So what are they going to do with Tua? Because it's Deshaun they flirting with. They saying Tua's the guy. What's going on over there?
It's Tua time, for sure.
Okay.
But, if Deshaun is on the market, like, what are you going to do? Like, you're always in the mode to make it.
Are you an upgrader?
Better. Yeah.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. But I'm honest about it. At least they're not saying that you're our guy undisputedly. They're like, you're our guy, but if there's somebody
for the right price, if Deshaun comes available.
So it's the same thing as like college football. You get you're a recruit and you're the 5-star recruit, and then they're going to recruit another 5-star recruit, and
competition, baby.
Whoever the best one plays. So I like. NFL usually comes down to injuries, I feel.
Do you think the Packers got a chance? What do you think about Aaron Rodgers?
I like the Packers. I like Tampa. And then, who would I say would be...
Kansas City's out there.
And Kansas City. Those would be the 3 teams I would expect 2 of those 3 to be in it in some capacity.
Can I get a prediction right now who wins it all this year? Since we may not have you back by the time the Super Bowl happens for episode 2. I don't know. I don't know when that's going, but who do you like to win it all?
I'm going to go with Kansas City.
That's on the bad pick. KC fans, man, y'all lucky y'all got Andy Reid in his prime, calling them plays with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, they got the boys,
weapons. So, They just upgraded their defense, I think, a little bit more, and their offensive line got better.
They look solid. And their running back was hurt. Towards
the offensive line was hurt last year. And
they got some new people, so I think. Listen, if any of those 3 teams would win, it wouldn't surprise me. But NFL is like any given Sunday, so who knows? Buffalo may come out of there.
Every inch counts. Al Pacino any given Sunday.
The Steelers look good. They got their team come back. So who knows?
Look, man, we got a lot of work to do with that offensive line, but I think people are sleeping on this. Now that we got Najee Harris on a running game where Ben don't have to throw it 50, 60 times a game, we'll see. Because if Najee were to get hurt, our backup, I couldn't even tell you who our backup is right now. But the point, I think it's
the kid. He's been there for a minute. No, the other guy.
I know Benny Snell.
Yeah, Benny Snell.
But I think the kid... maybe mistaken from the Raiders at Isaiah Rashad. We picked him up, maybe, I think. I don't know. But it all depends on that offensive line because our defense is lights out. And pay TJ Watt. Like, stop playing. I love our organization. Oh, did they already?
They kind of worked out a thing, but they haven't announced it yet.
Breaking news because he knows the insides of the insides with people that need to know. Yeah. All right, real quick, we're going to jump into our last segment real quick of what do you know about a mortgage? LTV 1, 2, 3. Okay, this segment real quick is 5 questions. You have some that may be yes or no, true or false, whatever. I'll give you the options. Do your best you can, but we're going to try to stump you, all right?
Of course.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Frankie, you ready? Frankie's ready. All right, let's do it. Question number 1. When buying a home after being approved, is it a good idea to buy furniture and electronics on credit before you close the loan? Yes or no?
No.
Correct. It is not a good idea to buy anything. Listen, don't buy water at the store on credit when you're buying a home because we've already pre-approved you for your debt-to-income ratio. If you start to screw that up, you may not have room to bounce back when we go to close, and then your earnest money deposit's gone and it gets real ugly. So do not buy anything on credit after you've been approved to buy a home. All right, question number 2. How long is a fixed rate good for? 5 years, 7 years, or 30 years?
I have one 30-year fix, but I don't know if that's the standard. So I'm gonna go with 30 if I have to.
Is he trying to finesse us right now? I feel there was only 3 questions, 3 answers that were given. 5, 7, or 30. What is your? How long is a fixed rate good for?
I'm gonna go 30.
Yes, he's correct. The trick there was fixed rate. 5 and 7, 5 1-arms and 7 1-arms are variables. So it's fixed for 5 years and then it varies and so on and so forth. So he kind of finessed his way into that. I will give him, he ain't going to Notre Dame like Jerome and them, but they was on that finesse thing. All right, question number 3. How long is your credit good for after qualifying for a loan? Oh, he's definitely not getting this. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. How long is your credit good for after you qualify for a loan? 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days?
I'm gonna go 60, but I think it's 90.
Do you know what
I'm gonna go
the
60.
answer is to my question? No, and it is 90 days. You have 3 months.
I knew it was.
Always go with your first guess, right? Always go with your first. You have 3 months after we pre-qualify you here at Loan Depot, the Gaylord Hanson team, to shop for mortgage, do everything you want. After those 3 months, we're going to re-pull your credit again. So you have 90 days, all right? Question number 4. You did good, though. That's a tough one. On an investment property purchase, what is the minimum down payment? Is it 15%, 20%, 25%? On an investment property purchase, what is the minimum down payment? 15, 20, or 25%?
25.
Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Yes. And it's a two-way answer. Now, here's the thing I want to give you guys. If he would have said 20%, he'd have been correct as well. 20% is a minimum down payment. However, the interest rate is higher. So they give you a higher rate if you do 20, but if you put 25% down, you'll get the best available rate at that point. That's like the sweet spot. So yes, congratulations, you got that. 5th question, this is a personal question. I give different people, whatever regions we're in, this question, personal choice. I'm gonna stab you in your heart if you don't answer the way I want you to answer. 5th question is, being from the Ville, man, come on. PH, Pleasant Heights, 405 Lost Nav. Iggy's or Gianna Moore's Pizza, man. Come on, man. Don't do me like this, man. Don't do me like this, man. PH, all day, baby. Iggy's or Gianna Moore's Pizza?
I gotta go with a tie.
Woo!
I gotta go because growing up, Iggy's was the truth. And
Yes.
I lived around the corner, so I lived off of that. And then I got Gianna Moore's, and that's like a whole nother world. But it's different. It's two different pizzas. So I'm gonna say like if somebody put a gun to my head, like I'd take either. But
okay, the gun's to your head.
I gotta stay in the middle. I gotta stay in the middle.
Hey, shout out to my people at Gianna Moore. Shout out to Earl Dennis, man. I know D still want the free hookup when he comes home. That's why I said Gianna Moore. Yeah, and long live, rest in peace to Iggy's, man. We miss you. Shout out to my boy Troy Hart. Who else was up in there? Wolf. Vudo. All the homies, man. All the OGs. Listen, it's been another round. We want to thank you, brother, for coming through, sharing your story. Thank you for not just being a great guest, but for just giving us your truth. And thank you guys for watching and listening. I really do appreciate growing this audience with you. I hope to do more and better things. I'm still learning. But we signing off for right now. Tune back in next episode. We out.
What happened to me being able to say whatever I got to say? Wasn't there a second?
Okay, so let's rewind that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and plug all your things for Blueprint and all the good stuff that you would like to plug, brother.
All right, so check out Blueprint Sound. It's blueprintsoundlv.com. We got one of the best DJ companies in the world. We have amazing DJs. We have DJ CLA, who's in my opinion, the best female DJ in the city and has been for a long time. There's DJ Direct, who's the man that Dre's After Hours. There's Patrick Cornett, who's a young and upcoming guy who, like this guy, DJs, an MMA fighter, a painter, a rapper, a dancer. He does it all.
Can't pick just one. He likes everything.
And like we also have like Earwax, who's a Vegas legend. He did DJ Sincere, who's
man, we don't need a whole lot of story.
I'm just letting you know people just out there.
No, you got some dope DJs.
But so Blueprint Sound. If you need DJs or entertainment, we throw parties as well. We just had our 6-year anniversary at Dre's on Monday. So most small businesses don't make it, after the first year, let alone 6. So we're very, very blessed to have made it this far.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry, one more time for the Twitter, Facebook, IG. What's your
all the same. Blueprint Sound LV. So just Blueprint Sound LV. The website,
Sound LV, y'all.
BlueprintSoundLV.com. Shout out to my business partner, DJ Direct.
Shout out to the whole Blueprint Sound family. We out.